Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF. So, I'm just sitting here minding my business. Excuse me, smoking a little wedding cake, as I always do. And I've been thinking about the Draymond Green situation and how it got leaked. And I don't know if I have a whole lot more to add to the video that I made earlier. In the video I made yesterday, I encourage everybody to go check it out if you're curious about my opinion. But the one thing that I'm gonna have a push back against is the notion that it's for certain that this was quote unquote leaked by the Golden State Warriors. The footage of Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole. I'm having a hard time believing that it was just some videographer, is that the right way to put it? The video professional, who just decided to leak this on their own to TMZ for however much money it would be. Now, I don't know how much money it would be. I don't know. That might determine whether or not this makes sense to do if you're that person. But I think about one name, Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra was the video guy for the Miami Heat many years ago. And he worked his way all the way up to where he is right now, which is a legendary coach, one of the top coaches in the game, NBA champion a couple times over. That's where he started. And I just think about understanding just what it is to dream about when you're in that position because of him. I'm not and mind you, not only that, but if you're that type of professional, you understand that these type of things are probably caught on camera as often as they happen because it's a practice facility. Obviously, the practice facility has security cameras. So if you don't think this is the only punch that has been caught on camera, you got another thing coming. Because if someone were to gather all the footage all over the league that has been caught on different things, we would have as much of that to probably watch as we have of game film. But what I will say is this got leaked for a reason, and I have told you guys that I truly believe that the reason this was leaked is simply to make this situation very, very uncomfortable for Draymond. Now, Draymond has made this situation very uncomfortable for himself, and the reason why I say that is because he obviously did the punching. But once you start doing certain things, there's a lot of different ways other people can act around what it is that you've done. They can make it very easy on you by not letting it get out, or they can make it hard on you by having to be a situation like this. Now, I don't know what it is that the Golden State Warriors' interest actually is. Everything that I've said on camera has been obviously speculation. But the one thing that I cannot shake in regards to my speculation is the notion that a videographer is going to throw away their entire career to to put Draymond Green in this position. That's not it. To get a couple dollars, forget putting him in that position. To get a couple dollars, that's a short-term situation. Now, it could happen. I could think of a million different scenarios where a person would need the money and just said, you know what, here's an opportunity for me. But I just think about with that job and what's possible, and with as many fights as you're probably going to see on camera that you could very easily release to TMZ, I don't know why this one would be the one that you would kamikaze your career with. Because you know once you release this, it's going to be a big deal. Now, once it becomes a big deal, you also understand that you're going to be caught and fired. And that you probably won't be rehired in that position ever again. So whatever this little bag is from TMZ, this is the last one you're getting. Unless you had it in mind to quit your job ahead of time, I don't think that you're going to see that as something that's worth doing. Right? That doesn't make sense to me. I think it's very, very few human beings in that position who are going to choose to do what this person allegedly did. It don't make no sense to me. Not to say that people haven't done things that hasn't made sense to me before, but then again, look at the other side of it. And if you're the organization, this is your practice facility footage. You got these players, both of them you have to pay a whole lot of money, and you would probably not rather pay them that much, either one of them that much. And this is something that if you handle it the way that they're handling it, could save you some money. A lot of it. Whole lot of it. And maybe, depending on what it is that you actually want, get rid of some problems that you actually want to get rid of. Because if Draymond Green is somebody that you don't believe can play the way that people think he can has been able to play, if he ain't able to do that and you pay him that salary, that's a bad contract that you're signing up for. Who actually wants to sign up for a bad contract? Not me. Not you. So these are the things that I think about when assessing how this could have gotten leaked, or what the motivation behind it being leaked could have been. And what comes to mind is, I just don't think a video person is going to risk their career like that. That's the message I have to tell you guys. When I assess what a person has to guard against, or what I think they have to lose, yeah, they're not going to do that. No, because there's too much to gain from keeping the job and just staying put. And part of being respected in that brotherhood, which is the NBA, is keeping things in house. I don't think players woke up this morning and decided to break that rule. I think organizations have collectively decided that it makes sense for them to start throwing players under the bus. Why? Because now we're in a position to where players and owners are on the opposite side of a negotiation table. That begins now. Yeah, collective bargaining negotiations. This is what is really here to see. If you really want to know what's there to look at, instead of thinking about the videographer and the possibility of them throwing their career away for a TMZ check, let's look at the collective bargaining negotiation conversations that are ahead that would put the owners and the players against one another, which would explain why owners continue all over the league to throw players under the bus or coaches or whatever, anybody that isn't. You see what I'm saying? Look at Boston, what's going on there, and now I'm looking at Golden State and seeing what's going on here, and it's like, okay, there's a theme there. And when is this happening? Right after the owner of the Phoenix Suns is now being ousted out of the league for being a not so cool guy. So one of theirs is getting knocked off, and now all of a sudden guys on the other side of the table are getting punched around. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? That's exactly what I'm seeing. I'm also seeing Draymond Green in a position to where people who may have how the best way to word this? Once you are in the media space, right? It's the media space. He's trying to be new media. He's taking punches at people outside of the sports world. The checks that he's trying to get in on, the money that he's trying to get in on, is skipping them money. It's channeling them money, and not them by my name, but what I'm saying, that's the world he's trying to walk into, media. He want to be there, and that's who he's punching at when he says we're gonna do the new media. That ain't gonna do with none of his subordinates in his field. He's going at them. And so when I start thinking about what their world is about, and who can have a phone call to whom at TMZ, and who can have a phone call to whom as a videographer, and who would be close to the camera, it ain't nobody in the sports field. It's the people in the media field. It's the people he been punching at. Yeah, this is not a sports thing. This is a camera thing. You see what's happening there? I think that the tea leaf I'm looking at tells me to speculate around the area of him pissing off media people and them getting him in trouble with the NBA and his Golden State Warriors team. Yeah, Dre, that's what you need to be looking at. If I'm just a guessing man, the enemies that's coming after you are the ones that are pissed at you for screwing around the media side of the game. They ain't happy. They ain't happy you stepping on their toes. You talking about this new media nonsense. And now they are able to spin the narrative that you throw punches, as to which you're complaining about them throwing words. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, this is one of those. Who would want to make you look bad in the form of punishing somebody physically? It's the people who are mad at you for telling the world that they're not so good for running their mouths. Why? Because sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. So if I want to hurt somebody mad at me for saying words, I'm going to make sure they look crazy, as if they're throwing sticks and stones at you. This is what's come to mind for me. And so, I tell you, if you give your enemies ammo, what they gonna do? They gonna shoot it back at you. This is a situation where Draymond Green thought this was 1992 or something. He thought it's okay to punch players. He know that the old school guys from the era that he respected. Charles Oakley, he had an issue with Charles Oakley about a month ago. He was right in Charles Oakley's face. He didn't punch Charles Oakley. He knows if he would have punched Charles Oakley, he would have got the respect he deserves. So he know for damn sure next time somebody try him, he ain't gonna be the guy not punching you, because he's been the guy that's been accused of not being willing to do nothing, but he's always running his mouth. That's his reputation. So this time, I guess he woke up in the morning and decided he wasn't going to let that reputation be him going forward. That's what I speculate took place. I think this was the day he said, nah, y'all ain't going to say Draymond Green is all bark and not bite. I'm biting. And unfortunately, they was watching. And if they were smart enough, they probably anticipated him maybe having that kind of trait and knowing what button to press with him and by doing that. Hell, if they're really smart, they're behind the narrative of making him look like he's the kind of guy who wouldn't punch nobody, so that one day he would just snap and punch somebody, so that they could catch him doing so that they wouldn't have to pay him a bunch of money. Now, if you are that intelligent, then I'm impressed with you. I don't know too many people who are, but what I'm saying is I can fathom such of intelligence. I've seen such level of intelligence. Maybe not in sports, but in other areas of life. And what I'm telling you is we need to start training ourselves to understand that such things are possible and to not play into it. As I always say to people, don't make it easy for people who can control you to do so. Don't allow people who have the control to move you on the chessboard, the ability to do so without any resistance whatsoever. Because a lot of people have a lot of interest when it comes to the sports the world, and one person could be a call away from another person, and that person could be a deal away from another deal, and that person could, you don't know where it's coming from. That's the moral of the story. This could be coming from the organization, this could be coming from one of his enemies in sports, this could be coming from one of his agent enemies, this could be coming from anybody of any kind. And when you're Draymond Green and you're unapologetic and you run around and you got a short fuse, that is a bad combination. Because you are susceptible to being manipulated, coerced, and confused by super smart people who can do a lot of weird stuff behind the scenes. And that's what I think is we might be seeing here. If I'm speculating, reading tea leaves as I always do, talking on stuff I really don't know about, this is what that is. He's being coerced. People know what buttons to press with him, and they are backing him into position to be exactly what it is he's going to be when they press those buttons. And that is why he needs to guard against, what's the word? What's the best way to phrase this? He needs to guard against anything that would otherwise allow them the possibility of doing so. You got to pick your battles wisely. You got to guard. You got to make sure that you. Hey, man, I'm a spiritual person. I say prayed up. That's what I say. If you believe in that sort of thing, that's probably your best bet. Because there are a lot of things out there that could be possibilities. A mind like mine could tell you of different possibilities. Some of them may be possible. Some of them just maybe in my mind, but at the end of the day, because I can fathom different things that people may be able to do, that's all enough of a reason for me to keep faith first, because there's so many different things that could be, and you never really know what is in a world like this. At the end of the day, what you can control is what you do. What you can control is how people view you and what it is that you're doing with your time and your effort and your name. And the way Draymond's rolling right now, he's making it very, very easy to smear dirt on that. And for somebody who is very opinionated and wants to call people out for doing this, that, and the third, you got to know you're going to be attacked. You got to know that. I know it. When I open my mouth, say certain things, I know it. Especially if I were to reach millions of people with my voice. Don't you sense a theme here? The people who are getting the worst of it a lot of times, and what I'm seeing in sports, are the people who buck that, who go against what it is that would otherwise be the order of things. You go against that in any way, and later on you're facing some adversity that just seems unnecessary in nature or convenient in how it's structured. It's just a pattern that I've seen in my life so many times with so many people who've done this. And it just gets to a point where you just almost expect it. So Draymond, with his new media conversation, I already knew this was coming. And it wasn't going to be something like, as simple as him being extorted or nothing like that. No, because he does things. And what I mean by that is certain people have certain energy, right? So if I want to catch them, I don't have to go after them. I just have to do certain things around them and let them act the way they're going to act in that environment. And whatever is going to happen, they're going to do to themselves. Sort of like the idea of someone, you give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves. That's exactly what Draymond's like in this situation. I said the same thing about, and I know this is controversial, but I've already said this and I'm going to say it again. The Miles Bridges situation. And just looking at him from afar and profiling the way that his behavior was, he was a very predictable patsy for volatile behavior because of how he behaved online. He was easy to project he was going to make a lot of money because his athleticism was what stood out from him early on in his life. So if you saw him at 16 years old, you already knew it was a good chance he was going to get an NBA contract. I'm telling you, him getting online talking about some of the things that he talked about, some of the street stuff that he did not protect against, made it look very easy to me that he was somebody that could be easily manipulated into whatever type of scheme a team wanted to come up against this guy. He would have been easy because all you had to do was certain things and he wasn't going to guard against those things. You could see it in his behavior from afar. I don't know if anything like that happened to him, but what I'm saying is what he's involved in looks cut and dry, case closed. Nobody's asking any questions except for the fact that the timing looks funny. And this here, what I'm saying to you, is present. It's present. Now, ain't nobody gonna question what happened there, and that's exactly what they supposed to not do. Do you understand what I'm saying? You ain't never gonna question whether the kids say he did it, the wife said he did it, the pictures of her, she looked messed up. I ain't never seen Fight Club, right? I'm gonna pretend I never seen that movie, because there was a scene there where dude was beating himself up to no end, and it traumatized me. Because now I've never been able to look at people the same way no more, because I think that people are actually capable of doing this, since I've heard of people doing this in real life. But seeing that scene where he's beating himself up like that because he's in some sick psychosis mode, yeah, that changed my life forever. Hearing the stories of people coercing their children into lying about circumstances. I've heard of this. You gotta lie, son. Don't tell nobody. Blah, blah, blah. I promise to get you a PlayStation 5. All these different things that people do to train their children to lie. Hell, they even have children to coerce people in circumstances. I can't act like I haven't seen these things on this walking journey in my life. So when I look at Miles Bridges' situation, I say it could be as bad as him just being crazy, losing his mind, on the verge of making this money and just want to blow it because he's afraid of success. There's a lot of different things that could have coerced him into the reality of what it is that he's faced with. But you know what else could have coerced him into that reality? A team of people smart enough to target him, be patient, put him in a certain position so they could do exactly what happened there. Now, why would it benefit them to do that? I do not know. But if you look at the clock and see that he was about to make $160 million the very next day, you tell me there's nothing more to look at than that. You tell me there's nothing else to see there. I train myself to look for things that I don't think others are looking for because I think that is important. So I think the world has been getting duped by people who've been who've been hiding in the shadows in this way. You gotta have people out there looking for this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So as I think and as I surmise and I look at these different things and I just say, man, if I'm smart enough to see opportunities to do this to a person, even though I would never do anything like that, if I'm smart enough to put it together, somebody else is smart enough to actually execute it. Simple as that. Why a person would do that, I ain't got that part together yet. But that they would do it and could do that is there. And ain't nobody asking those questions, it seems, but me. Because they're afraid to, because they're afraid of how they're going to look when they ask those questions. I'm not afraid of how I look. Why? Because I'm balanced when I say that this also looks very bad and he could have very well done this. And that I train myself to look at things a certain way so that if I'm wrong, it's fine. Because a lot of times I will be for looking at things this way. But I look at a lot of things this way and come up with nothing. This time, that's not the reality. I'm coming up with something. Simple as that. clock is off. I'm sure they'll come down, they got a whole case to fight there. So if it is what it is and he comes up and confesses he did, hey, it looks like he did what he did. But what I'm also saying is he also looks like somebody who would be very easy to coerce into being in that circumstance, and then I would expect for him to behave the way that he actually did because of just the behavior overall. I think he would do that. I think from what I've seen from his behavior, I think if you press certain buttons, he's going to snap and do exactly what it is that he's been accused of. That's what I'm saying. It's not that I don't think he did it. I think he did it. I think he was put in a position to where he would want to by people who were smart enough to create that environment. And so that's what I'm saying to you, man. And if you can fathom how this being possible, you understand why it's important to stay guarded. Stay guarded, man. Because there are a lot of people out here who are playing chess, not checkers. Yes, there are a lot of people out here who just run around blind. But some of them are very, very patient and very strategic and have a lot of reach and all these different things. And if you piss them off, whatever happens to you, going to look like an accident or look unquestionably put together. As if there's no reason to question it at all. You died of a heart attack. It's so sad. And everybody loved you. Except for it got done and it was thought up and nobody's ever going to find out about it. And that's what... This is why I talk the way I do. Because I'm trying to help people see the signs that may be there when they're caught up in these webs and are not aware. So, Draymond, this takes me back to his situation, and I say I don't know if he's a part of anything like that, but it looked like he could be. This is the environment for which something like that could happen. When you're owed this amount, that person's owed that amount, and you're volatile as hell, and people know you're volatile as hell, so all they got to do is a couple things and watch you go. Push this button over here, plant that seed in that person's head, get this over there, create this environment. Ooh, I know that'll piss them off, so just say this little thing over there. All it takes is a couple people in agreement to screw you over, and you got it. I felt like what bothers me about this is I look back on that P&B Rock situation and what I initially thought of before I had enough information, and then finding out after all the information came out that what I was initially thinking was right. These are the type of things that come to mind when I have these type of conversations, because it's like when I read tea leaves, I be having confirmation in life. Sometimes I be barking up the right tree. I told you guys, if you watch that particular video, I said I thought it was a good chance that whatever happened there was just some people who saw him come through the restaurant and probably was on the inside, called some people who was on the outside, and it took care of it like that. It didn't have to be nothing like, nobody was checking the social media, none of it. It didn't have to be like that because of the area he was in. All it took was somebody to see him pull up. Somebody, and then from there, as I said in the video, they could have made a phone call from the inside to somebody who lives around the corner who can come back around and handle business. And sure enough, that's something like that. Some variation of that is what took place. And at the time when I said that, it was just me speculating, tea leaves, thinking just like I'm thinking right now. It wasn't no different type of line of thinking that gave me that conclusion. Because people work together. Simple as that. That's the moral of the story. When you grow up in LA, you understand that you could be set up by 30 people. And if there's enough money involved, they'll split it. That's what I know. So, hey, at the end of the day, man, I hope people are learning from what I'm giving you. I hope this wisdom hits you in the right way. I'm saying with love in my heart. I'm not sitting here saying I'm better than nobody or I couldn't be caught up in anything. Certainly could. But at the end of the day, you just have to know that what you do and your DNA, so to speak, can be identified and manipulated by others. Not the DNA itself. I want to speak clearly. When people know you have a certain trait, yeah, they know you're going to jump bad. You got the easy button. You can just see red automatically. All they got to do is poke you and you go crazy. Oh, you best believe there's going to be people strategically trying to figure out ways of having you be poked in the right spaces at the right time so you act a certain way in the right place. All that, man, you got to be careful. People playing chess with your life. Oh, yeah, they'll send you something good, say something nice to you, build you up just to put you in that position so they could activate you. And you're gonna act the way you're gonna act. And they're gonna sit back and watch, smoke a cigarette. So, yep, plan is coming together. Nah, don't let it happen to you, man. It's the Kobe Minute. You know how we respect it. What can I say, man? I wish the best for everybody. My name is BDF 44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.